So, let's talk about The Fall Guy, which weirdly, it's having a really rough time at the box office. And I mean, while I understand it, I think this is part of a larger issue, which I've talked about before. I also don't understand it because this movie it's really, really fun. And honestly, I think you should see it. The Fall Guy is just, it's action packed. It is actually based off of a 80s TV show, which I did not know going into this, and I did not know coming out of it. It wasn't until after, when I did my immediate reaction, that someone actually commented and told me about that, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. So now I'm kind of curious if I should go back and watch that. But fair warning, spoilers ahead. I'm going to be talking in depth about the plot, about some of the stunt sequences in here, some of the twists, the turns, the surprises, all that good stuff, and like scenes and things that happen. Here we go. So yeah, I kind of want to start at, I guess, the ending of the film because it is a callback to the TV series. I believe there are actors that are in the original TV series that come back at the end and are part of like the team that drives in and sort of handles the criminals in the end. The interesting thing about this movie is that I kind of went in just thinking it was going to be an action movie. I didn't expect it to be so much more. Not only is the action in this amazing, but also all of the performances are really great. I think for me, the big thing is that I feel like Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt have such great on-screen chemistry, and it's interesting to see how some people are reviewing this film because I just actually read a review that was negative from The Guardian, and they were just talking about how the acting is like kind of subpar and how the action loses its momentum, I guess, like because it's so big, the stunts therefore kind of fall flat because there's so much of it. Whereas I feel like this was constantly one-upping itself until we get to the end of the film, which has one of my favorite stunts, I think, in the entire thing. One of my favorite stunt sequences for sure, which is in the helicopter. So there's a stunt sequence at the end in a helicopter. We've got Ryan Gosling, well, his character Colt, who probably not actually Ryan Gosling, probably an amazing stunt performer, definitely actually, because at the end of the movie they also show you all of the stunt performers like doing the stunts and like working with the actors and like tapping out and all that stuff, and it's really fun to see some of that behind the scenes stuff because I feel like we don't really get to see that much unless people film it and put it out there. It's not usually very easily accessible for certain films, so I really appreciated that. But the stunt that they have with the helicopter is phenomenal. So we have Colt hanging out of the helicopter. He grabs it to get up in the air to pursue these criminals who are basically trying to incriminate him in a crime and who are trying to ruin the future of Metal Storm, which is Jodie's movie. This sequence it just blew my mind that this happened, that someone did this. Not only hanging onto a helicopter while it's flying, which is insane, but also then going into the helicopter and then doing a whole roundabout fight, which just the sequence itself is so fun and so interesting. Basically, they're fighting over this briefcase, which has a recording in it, an audio recording. And because we have the briefcase in the fight, just the way that that's being chased and everybody's actions in this sequence, it's got a great flow, and it's also just got this great desperation to it. Like everyone really needs the suitcase. The suitcase is the central point, and the suitcase is going in and around and out of the helicopter throughout the fight, and we're just kind of trying to like keep track of that suitcase, watch these people also duke out some personal beef. So it's got everything that I would love in a action sequence. It's got high stakes, it's got relationships, the characters' relationships to each other and how that affects how they're fighting with each other, and it's just got some really amazing stunt work. It also just feels fast-paced. It doesn't feel like a stunt that's pausing, if that makes sense. There's not a lot of slow moments. There's not slow-mo that needs to be used. This is just stunts at real time. And I love that. It is not easy to do. And I feel like a lot of the times when the slow-mo and the shaky cam come into action movies, it's usually to kind of hide something in there, you know? And this is very smooth. It's a very smooth sequence. So what is Fall Guy about? Well, it surprised me in how romantic it was. It also surprised me in how dramatic it was. And it also surprised me in just how much of an homage it was to not only stunt performers, which I kind of expected, I guess, it to be a bit, because it is about a stunt performer. The main character in the movie is a stunt performer, Colt. But it's also just about like the love of the movies, which is also why I feel like it's really kind of symbolic and sad that it's struggling so much at the box office. Is this the end of the movies? I don't know. What the film is about is Colt basically is a stunt performer. He is stand-in for a very big actor, and he is working with Jodie, who at the time I believe she is like a camera op. I think she's a camera op when they sort of start seeing each other, and they're both working on this production together. And he's kind of trying to work out the courage to, you know, ask her to go on a trip with him and like kind of firmly commit to this relationship that they're building. Super cute, but as he's thinking about doing that, he's about to redo a stunt. He's been asked to do it again. Too much face. And when he performs that stunt, it goes wrong. And he hurts his back. He breaks his back, I think. And he has to stop being a stunt performer. Which also I feel like is a really big commentary on how much stunt performers, you know, not just rely on their body, but the idea that like having an injury as a stunt performer is really awful because it can take you out for a long time. If it's fatal, it can also take your life. A lot of stunt performers tragically have lost their lives on sets. I think it's also really cool that David Leitch is the one bringing us this movie and is the person behind it, directing it. I wasn't really a big fan of Bullet Train, but I did really like, obviously, his stuff with Deadpool I've enjoyed, and he also has a background in stunts. So he also directed Deadpool 2, and he has a background in stunts. And in my reaction, I also kind of talked about just this idea of how it felt very personal, because also in Deadpool 2 there was a stunt performer that lost their life. There was some negligence that basically happened on that set, and it's I think it's nice to just acknowledge the fact that, you know, movies take a whole group of people. Without everyone here, we would not have a movie. And stunt people are such a huge part of that. Someone in my reaction video also commented on sort of how it feels kind of insulting, I guess, that they didn't have stunt performers in the lead roles, that we have Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, who obviously, well, I'm sure they did some stunts in this movie, I would not be surprised, are not stunt performers by trade. That is not what they do. They are actors. And to that, I just kind of wanted to say that I hear that, if that is an issue that some people have with it. However, I would like to just say, if a stunt performer were to step into that lead role, they also probably wouldn't be allowed to do all of the stunts in this movie, because the thing that you have to understand when you're on a set is when you're an actor and your face is needed, like you need to be here for this, you know, they're not going to let you do certain things, because if you go down, if you get injured on set, that can cost the set so much money. So even people that, you know, have the experience, the know-how, the will, the drive to do a bunch of stunts, like actors like Tom Cruise, who notoriously loves to do stunts, really pushes to do them. You have to push to do them. You have to basically be one of the people making that movie, I think, as well, to make sure that that is a thing you can have happen, because most studios will just not let you do it. So while I think that's a great idea, and I also would love to see that, because as I've said before, stunt performers are also actors. A lot of the times the people that are doing stunts are also actors, and honestly, doing a stunt is acting. It is not dialogue necessarily, but dialogue is just one small part of what being an actor is. And sometimes actually you do have stunts where you have dialogue. I mean, a stunt performer probably wouldn't be the one saying it, but still, there's acting involved there. And I do think that they'd be able to do those roles and be the leads. I just don't know if the studios would approve of it. That's where you run into trouble. That being said, I feel like the people they chose for this movie were fantastic. Like I said, Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, great chemistry. I have to say too, although I love Emily Blunt in everything she's in, so hands down love her here, Ryan Gosling really stole the show for me, and I know he is also pretty much like the main character. You know, he is the protagonist here. But it just made me realize like how amazing of an actor Ryan Gosling is, and it kind of made me feel bad that I feel like a lot of his earlier stuff, he's been doing like a lot of romantic comedies or just like romantic dramas, like a lot of romance. And I feel like he kind of gets pegged as this like pretty boy, which he definitely also is that. Like I understand why that is a stereotype that he probably got put into a lot, but he's so talented. And I know this is also a romance, but there's just one scene where when he comes to the set, so the idea is he injures his back, he's out, he gets pulled back in to Stunts by the producer who is always producing the films of the actor he used to stunt for, who is played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. And Aaron Taylor Johnson does an amazing job. He's hilarious. But anyway, so Colt gets pulled back in. And when he gets pulled back in, he's told that Jodie has specifically requested him. And this is her first film that she's directing. Very cool stuff. And he acknowledges that when he got injured, he kind of was bad at keeping up with her. He kind of got into a slump. He didn't know how to accept help. And so he rejected Jodie's help. And as a result, their relationship fell apart. And he has huge regrets about it. So he's like, not only is this maybe a way back to Stunts, which would be cool, but also I could maybe, Jodie has asked for me, I could rekindle this love. So of course he goes. He flies out to, I think they're filming in Australia, and gets to the set. They scan his face and put him in the system so that they can, map something over his face when he's doing the stunts, map Aaron Taylor Johnson's face over his. And then he finds out that Jodie didn't actually ask for him. And there's a part where after they have had a rough day on set, after the revelation that he's there, and Jodie obviously being very upset about it because she wasn't consulted, she didn't know, and he's confused because he's like, I thought you knew, and no one told me this. He is getting in a vehicle to drive back to the hotel, and he's listening to Taylor Swift, and Jodie interrupts him, and then they have this conversation. And she's like, we just need to really keep it profesh on the set. Like, we just need to keep it profesh. And he's like, 100%, 100%. And they have this little heart-to-heart where they kind of make peace with each other and agree that, like, we're going to both be professional here. And we're going to just put the past behind us and try to move forward. And he drives her to her car, which is a very short, it's like not even 100 meters away. Classic. And she gets out, and then he's just looking at her, and it's just a look. It's not even a line, it's a look. It just made me go, like, that is such a real look, like such a look of longing, regret, love, hopefulness. With this one look, he said like a million things. And to me, that is a fantastic actor. And I just was amazed by it. So yeah, when it comes to the story is also really fun. It's this idea of Colt kind of having this redemption. He gets pulled back in because the lead actor has actually gone missing. So he wasn't really called in for his stunt expertise, although that definitely plays a role still on the set. But he was called back to help find the lead actor who's gone missing. So he sets out on this mystery of trying to solve what happened to him. And then he finds out that it was all basically a setup. And then we're going to try to basically frame him for the murder of the previous stunt person who had kind of been goaded into a fight that resulted in his death with the lead actor. Very dramatic. And they were going to frame Colt for it by bringing him back. That was the producer that called him back there in the lead actor's plan, which does end up getting foiled with the help of some other friends on the set. And of course, Jodie. They're able to tape a confessional. They get it out of the lead actor on the set by making him do one of his own stunts. They do this massive jump with a car, which is also insane. It's just, the other thing is that the stunts are really well, I feel like, woven into the story. They're not just, and now we do the stunt. They serve a lot of times a story purpose as well, and they're woven into plot points. And to me, that's what makes stunts amazing. I mean, stunts are story, and that's what this film gets. Also, the music is amazing. It makes a bunch of jokes about Dune, because Metal Storm is clearly supposed to be basically Dune is what they're making here, but it's way goofier. And they even like sort of have a music that'll play when they're like in scenes in the movie that is very similar to the Dune music, and every time it played, it made me laugh. So this is a movie that will make you laugh. It'll just leave you so hopeful when you leave the theater. And I just want everyone to experience that. And I guess I'm just a little disappointed that that's not going to happen. And that so many people are saying, like, or just feel like it's going to be a meh movie. I understand kind of why people are anticipating that. And I understand it's really hard for people to get to the theaters right now. Money is an issue. People are still afraid of being in a room with other people. People just don't want to. It's like, why would I do that when I could just sit at home way more comfortable? But this is a movie that I think you really need to see on the big screen. I don't think you'll regret it. And I really think it is a movie that is for people that love movies. So if that is you, and if you love movies, if you love action, if you love to laugh, if you love to have your heartstrings pulled, if you love to have a film that makes you cry. At one point, as Colt, Ryan Gosling does a whole speech about, as a stunt performer, how it's made him not be able to not be okay, because you're always supposed to be the thumbs up person. So when he got hurt, he was the thumbs down guy, and that's not a thing that you do as a stunt performer. He failed and he just couldn't be okay with it, because even though you do hurt a lot as a stunt performer, you're never supposed to talk about it. And I was like, what is this doing to me? It's making me emotional just thinking about it. So it'll make you emotional. It's dramatic, it's funny, it's romantic, it's goofy, and it's got a lot of amazing action in it. I don't know what more people could want. So I don't know. If this film completely flops, I think I'm gonna lose a little faith in, I don't know, humanity. Not to end it on a bleak note. So go see the movie. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought of this review in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, friends, stay nerdy. Bye!